Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust and another edition of First Time Gun Buyer. Now, I haven't done these in a while because I really just honestly didn't have a lot to really think about in regards to new content in regards to this type of video. But, basically the past couple of weeks I've been thinking, and I actually came up with one. And this really deals with the choice of, do you go with a gun that has a great history and a track record that has been used for years and, multiple agencies, whether it's law enforcement, military, and civilian use, or do you go with something that's brand new that hasn't really garnered, I should say, that reputation of being just an outstanding handgun that's going to be super reliable? So I think that's a big question that has to be asked. And of course, at the end of the video, if you guys wouldn't mind, just leave a comment down below and give your advice. What would you choose? Would you choose something that's been tried and true for years? Or would you go for something that maybe is brand new, that just released on the market, that is a generation one of that handgun? Because again, that's a big choice you have to make. So obviously I don't have any Glocks anymore. And it's kind of a bummer because I think a lot of times people would recommend a Glock as the first type of handgun based on the fact that it has a great track record, a good history. It's been used by the military, used by law enforcement for years, and it's just been around forever, And I think from that standpoint, people who go into the gun shop and they're looking for that first purchase, a lot of times they'll be recommended to or towards a gun like a Glock. Now, of course, you have options out there. There are some guns that have been around forever, especially in the more modern polymer striker-fired handguns. Some would recommend maybe an M&P, the original Smith & Wesson, as opposed to the 2.0, which I have right here. And to be honest with you, you probably couldn't go wrong with the 2.0. I think it's as reliable as the first version of the M&P. Obviously the mechanics have changed slightly, but nothing to me that would indicate that this would be a gun that fails constantly, that it really isn't worth its price. And again, you can find these very relatively cheap. They have some good sales online, and I would suggest looking into that. Now, of course, you do have the option of going with something that's a little bit newer, something that maybe have just came out in the past year or so. And obviously, you're looking at the CZ P10. Now, you guys know I just did a video on this, and you know that I've had some issues with it. Now, I've gotten a million comments. Mostly have been very constructive. Obviously, there's some people saying, well, what do you expect when you modify the gun? So I just want to really talk about that quickly. The modifications in this gun are minor at best. You have a trigger shoe and a trigger bar that's still the stock trigger bar. I did have the DPM recoil and guide rod, and it's still in there. But again, I have tested this gun with everything stock and with some of the upgrades that I've put in there, and I've had those issues both. Now, the thing about these new types of guns like this one right here, what you guys really have to realize is you are kind of taking a risk. Again, it's like anything else. If you go to buy a new car, are you going to be getting that first generation of car, or should you wait to see if they work out some of the bugs and some of the kinks in that automobile? Well, honestly, guys, handguns are kind of similar to that because a lot of times when a manufacturer puts out a handgun, and it's brand new to the market and has never been tested, has not had, I guess you could say, years of support behind it, a lot of times what you're going to find is that those guns have a tendency to have something wrong with them. Now, is that for every single handgun that has ever come out that's brand new? No, obviously not. But I'll be honest with you, what my history has shown is that, like, let's say, for example, the Canik TP9 SF Elite, when that gun came out, I bought one of those handguns and it was riddled with problems. Again, it's not the old SF model. This was a newer model that came out, and unfortunately it just didn't work out. The gun turned out to be a huge lemon. Now, the P10, again, it's starting to get a good track record. There's a lot of people out there that are now buying these handguns, and they are at a great street price. I mean, on the street, they're probably going for mid 400s at best. And everything about the gun is really good. The problem is that this particular handgun has just been failing on me for multiple reasons that I can't explain. So ultimately, this is probably going to go back to CZ, and it's probably going to get fixed, hopefully. And then from there, I'm going to decide whether or not I want to sell it or not. Again, you could always go for something that, again, has been tested in maybe not necessarily in American markets for a long period of time, but definitely in the German market. Obviously, the Walther PPQ has been around for a while. This is kind of the second iteration of what the P99 was. And the P99 was a great gun, but they wanted to change it up and make this really just a striker fire, pure single action, 100% precock striker, and it is a fantastic handgun. And honestly, the PPQ guys, this gun has served me very well. This has several thousand rounds through it, and it has never had a failure, not one time. Again, a tried and true handgun that has been put through its paces, that has a good track record, and that is definitely an option for you. Another handgun that, is kind of one of those guns that's sort of new, but it's been around, but not a lot of hype. Obviously, you guys know I'm going to bring this gun out. This is my Steyr M9. And again, fantastic handgun, but this was a risk. And it was a risk because there was not a lot of support for this. There was not a lot of background information on this. And even though it's been around for a while, it really has not had a real big share in the market. So as a result, you're taking a big risk with a gun like this because you just don't know what you're going to get. And so, you have options out there, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to any gun shop, and I guarantee you they're going to recommend Glocks. They're going to recommend Smith & Wesson M&Ps, and you can't go wrong with either one of those. Like I said, great track record, great history. Yes, there have been problems in even the Glocks and even in the Smith & Wessons, but they seem to have ironed those out over time. Why? Well, due to really large demand and large use of the handgun from multiple agencies and, of course, the citizen. So again, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. This was kind of a quick one, but I think it's going to be an interesting conversation again, because I think what it's going to do is open up the idea of, do you go with something that's been out there for a while, that has a wonderful track record that a lot of people swear by, or do you take that risk and you go with a gun for the first time that may have just been released, or maybe as a newer generation that might or might not have problems? So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Always appreciate the thumbs up. And again, leave comments down below, because I think, like I said, this is going to be an interesting conversation. So have a great night, stay safe, and as always, freedom is never free.